This Pecha presentation is my response to Anthony Collamati's dissertation, Camera Creatures, Rhetorics of Light and Emerging Media, Part 1. The idea of writing with light is intriguing, and one my background in literature never posed to me. The impulse to write with light seems intuitive. As children, we've all tried to sign our names in the air with a 4th of July sparkler, with mixed results, whether a successful expression of a word or a spark flung off to singe our nearby relatives. We might explore something here in the potentiality of light text to inflict trauma on observers, or even their composers, whether we mean literally or figuratively. The Nazis burned in Shoshana's movie theater conflagration and Tarantino's Inglourious Basterds would probably agree, but I will leave this vein uncut for the moment and return to topic. Collamati's referring to something more than just fireworks, although those can also be considered text and light. See any Disney Parks closing time performance. Film and photography are light texts whose narrative qualities make them more obviously composed. Indeed, we speak of the elements included in a photograph as its composition. Successful photography requires a trained eye, trained to see how the camera will interpret the qualities of the light in a given shot, and the resulting image can be wildly different from the one the photographer intended, precisely because of disparities in light. Thus, light can either make or break a photo, just as word choice can make or break a text. A good photo also tells a story. Some may object to the claim that the photograph being a kind of narrative, and Collamati addresses the reluctance of them to grant this medium the kind of depth he ascribes to it. Merleau-Ponty, he says, denies that photographs can reach the virtual realm because they force a 3D world into a 2D image, but this does not diminish a photo's ability to move an audience. When I say move, I'm recalling Barth's thoughts on photography's effects on audiences in Camera Lucida. He feels literally touched, even punctured by the images he sees. The old adage remains relevant. A picture's worth 1,000 words. And our culture's embrace of the photo essay and online albums complicates any privileging of the virtual over the 2D. Architects write with light as well. Collamati refers to the Philip Johnson house in Chapter 2. The lighting really does make it seem as if the building will lift off into the sky at any moment. The building has also been compared to a campfire, the light around which we gather for companionship and protection against darkness. So Johnson has written a permanent campfire for us. Off of Highway 276, there's a chapel known as Pretty Place, whose design is locally famous. The walls are open to the air, and mountain light streams in from all sides. The metaphor here is clear. Letting light into the room means letting God in as well. This building makes manifest the spiritual analogy of the weight light carries with us. But light is like Parmenides' Althea. As much as it illuminates, it also conceals. Living in a glass house would be very unsettling. At night, anyone inside would be on full display while any viewers would remain completely invisible to them, opening the occupants up to scrutiny and criticism, and concealing the critics, just as writing does. Likewise, writing conceals some things by illuminating others, Heidegger points out. The moment we make a statement, we exclude the other possibilities, relegating some ideas to the nebulous abyss of the unspoken, regardless of the truth of one or the other idea. So highlighting one thing over another necessarily illustrates a politics of exclusion. The still camera conceals truth as well. It obscures, or replaces, the face of the photographer, isolating them from the people and landscape around them. I know I often feel like a voyeur when I'm out shooting with my camera. There's a stigma against both the tourist and the photojournalist alike that can be a big psychological barrier to successful photography. Those on the other side of the lens are often uncomfortable too, feeling that what the camera or the photographer sees will misrepresent, misinterpret, or reveal something unpleasant about them. It happens all the time that embarrassing photos of government officials are leaked, and cyberbullying is a real problem that affects teens. It's not hard to understand why this is. Our culture is obsessed with image, both social perception and body image, and we fear the scrutiny of our peers on these counts. Too much ends up on Facebook. So allowing oneself to be photographed is a risky venture in a practical sense, which makes the photographer's replaced face all the more intimidating. Collamati explains Maury's idea of the uncanny valley, which says that at a certain point, representations of the human come too close to approximating humanness and become unsettling rather than familiar. So does the photographer's prosthetic camera face partially explain people's discomfort with the camera beyond the fear of misrepresentation? Perhaps. But we cannot shy away from using light as a medium all the same, or being its subject from time to time too. Society and ever-changing technologies demand that we insert our image here if we are going to participate in modern life. There's definitely an appeal to seeing others and being seen as well, one that Facebook illustrates particularly well. I've been considering the photo as an art medium, but it also has other roles that Collamati addresses. Photography as ongoing documentary of our everyday lives is the most common exposure we have. Certainly we see this in our students who can hardly tear their eyes away from Facebook long enough to do their reading or have a non-digital conversation. And image is a commodity. The photojournalist tries to land the award-winning shot. Companies brand themselves in images. Copyright laws run rampant. Wedding photographers rake in the cash, and artists struggle to pay their bills. We feel that we can buy an image, a photogenic one, in the clothes we wear, the cars we drive, the houses we live in. But Collamati points out that light, among other things, is not a thing to be possessed, but that it seizes us. I imagine this happening in several ways. A photo can literally hold our gaze while we look at it. Our interpretation of its meaning can carry us out of ourselves and into another's experience. We can even have a seizure, hopefully just a metaphor. Heidegger, too, discusses seizure in Parmenides, claiming that no one actively begins something, but the beginning sweeps them up, kidnaps them, and carries them away. So much about our discipline and the boundaries it crosses can be boiled down to a seizure. We've all been caught up in this thing they call arsid, and we haven't the faintest clue where it will take us. Whether lived in or not, the Johnson House remains iconic in its representation of how light can improve the aesthetic of our lives, symbolically protect us from the monsters lurking in the darkness, and simultaneously unsettle us and force us to imagine what is being concealed in any given illumination, if only writing were as transparent and well lit.